Hey y'all, I am back for episode 62 of the Quintuple M, the Monday Mr. Money Mustache Motivation. I'm actually filming this on the day that it's supposed to go up, so this one is a little bit later than what I typically post. Sorry about that. And also just a note about these, since I'm getting fairly close to getting this channel monetized, I have the watch time that I need. As soon as I reach 1,000 subscribers, then I should be eligible for monetization. But I'm a little bit worried about doing these types of videos, to be honest. I'm afraid that they might get a copyright strike, since this is not my material, it's Mr. Money Mustache's material. I've never claimed it as my own, and I always do link to the blog posts that I read down in the description box below, so y'all can go to his website and check him out. And I don't show his website on my YouTube videos either. However, YouTube is a little bit of a gray area when it comes to the copyright stuff. And the only thing that I've been able to find is that if you use third-party material, then there needs to be, your own take on it, basically, which that's why I do these in the first place, is just to have some discussion about the topic of choice. So I hope it's all right, but if I stop making these in the future, then y'all will know why. And I have actually reached out to the man himself, Pete Adney, Mr. Money Mustache, and asked if it was okay that I do this style of video, and I haven't heard anything back, but he's Mr. Money Mustache, so it's probably quite busy. So with all of that said, we'll go ahead and get into this episode. This one comes from his blog post from November 12th, 2011. This one's titled Book Review, Early Retirement Extreme. There is a small but growing social movement spreading around the world these days. It started long ago but has been accelerating recently. Although this revolution is tiny when measured as a percentage of the population, it has the fiery heart of a golden lion, and thus it gets an unusual amount of shock, admiration, respect, and jealous complainy pants scorn when it comes into contact with the rest of our society. I'm talking, of course, about the early retirement movement, also known as financial independence for those who still subscribe to the old-fashioned definition of retirement as never doing any form of paid work again. It's difficult to define the starting date of the revolution because there have probably always been oddballs who realized early on that they could save and invest their money and then live off of the resulting income. But some mark 1992 as an important date in starting the modern trend, because that is the year that the book Your Money or Your Life came out. That book started spreading the idea that money isn't just for spending. It is really a form of life energy that you can keep for yourself in order to free up more time. Another big step in the early retirement movement was when Jacob Fisker, a fellow 30-something retiree, started writing his blog called Early Retirement Extreme back in 2007. By creating his series of highly detailed and analytical articles on the subject, I think Jacob was giving a clear voice to the financial independence scene that was not readily available on the internet before that point. Common financial wisdom, then as well as now, has been something like this, quote, "Obviously, modern life is very expensive, so you'll have to spend almost everything that you earn, no matter how much that might be. With the tiny sliver that you do manage to save, you must invest carefully for 30 years or more until you get to a ripe old age and you have several $1 million of investments that allow you to continue spending just as much for the rest of your life. Cruise ships, wheelchairs, Cadillacs, and a $50,000 wedding for each of your 27 grandchildren." Jacob's more logical voice of the early retirement movement instead said this: "Obviously, we are all spending way the fuck more than we need to in the Western world, and it is a complete waste of all of our time, energy, happiness, and the entire planet. So let's analyze our true needs as humans and figure out efficient ways to meet all of those needs. Then we'll enjoy our new, more natural life while continuing to earn a rich world wage for a few years. Since the earnings will be far more than our spending, we will save and invest it, and the work portion will quickly become optional." I am, of course, paraphrasing a little bit, since Jacob doesn't swear as often as Mr. Money Mustache does, but I added the F-bomb just to make sure you knew that idea was very important. The interesting thing about the Early Retirement Extreme blog, known as ERE by its followers in the movement, is that it grew into an entire book by the same name. Mr. Fisker worked on his book on the side even while he continued blogging, collecting and refining his fanciest and most detailed writing on the subject, eventually publishing it in both paperback and electronic forms. And being both a follower and fellow preacher, Mr. Money Mustache realized it was essential to read this book in detail and report back with this book review for you. If I had to sum up the Early Retirement Extreme book by inventing my own title for it, I would call it The Entirety of Human Civilization and Thought Expressed as a Series of Equations and Graphs. It really is that broad-reaching and densely packed. I had to read it carefully over a period of several weeks because I found that the individual sentences sometimes packed in multiple entire concepts, each one being the type of thing that I'd normally spend a whole Mr. Money Mustache article explaining. Let's just take one random passage from early in the book. The cost of specialization. It's obviously more expensive, both in time and money, for person A and person B to gain the required amount of knowledge in both fields X and Y than it is if A were to concentrate on X while B were to concentrate on Y. In this way, both can gain the same depth of knowledge in half of the fields in half the time. Alternatively, they can get twice as much knowledge in the same field in the same time. It follows that the more a field is further split up into subfields, the less expensive this knowledge gets. These cost savings can be used to reach even deeper levels of competence. That's a complete explanation for why we all have such boring and unsatisfying jobs and lives in general, yet Fisker just brushes through the material as a quick background on his way to teaching you how to design your wardrobe and everything else with scientific precision. There's also plenty of philosophy. In the Kindle edition of the book, you get to see which passages other readers have highlighted. The most popular one is this. When you identify with an object, you're defined by the object, then controlled by it, and ultimately owned by it. If you relate to your possessions, you're owned by your stuff, and it will make many of your decisions for you. This trap is not only mental, but also physical. I can see why that one is the most highlighted. It resonates with me, really. Looking through all of the top highlighted passages, I see that the more emotional ones related to the thought that our society is crazy and we're defined by pointless materialism are the winners. And indeed, those things are true even while they are very rarely acknowledged in the news or in conversations held between people who are not part of the movement. But my own favorite part of the book was in the description of the Renaissance man ideal. This is the idea that you will have the most enjoyable life and the best chance at very early financial independence by developing a whole load of interesting skills. The amazing part is that these skills don't just sit independently in your mind like a bunch of unused kitchen appliances in a pantry. They start to reach out and connect to each other in unexpected ways and start solving all your problems for you. They build your curiosity and start sucking in still more skills that you can't help acquiring. And before you know it, you're able to live a superb life on only a tiny fraction of the spending that a normal person does, even while you might end up accidentally earning money even more easily than before you embraced the Renaissance ideal. This section of the book put into more advanced words the same thing I've been raving about on this blog, which is the idea that you should insource rather than outsource whenever possible. I stumbled only accidentally across this idea when I quit my specialized software job and started the house building company. The range of activities and people I became exposed to when going from a lonesome cubicle software developer to a small company owner changed everything. Since then, a chain reaction of useful new experiences continues to this day, and I have at least learned to appreciate the chance to learn new skills instead of dreading them. Because these opportunities often come disguised as big hassles that you have to deal with unexpectedly at various points in your life, and you have to saw your way through the big smelly log of dung to get to the golden nugget of opportunity hidden deep within. So it's a valuable book, and if you read it carefully, it will definitely teach you new things. I will, however, throw in a critical side to this review. And that is just that the book is a little bit serious for my tastes. The engineer side of me appreciates having things laid out with the utmost in logic, just as I loved pretty much everything that Spock and Data ever said on the Star Trek shows. But the rest of me thinks that we need to have heart-touching personal stories, satire, mocking, and plenty of foul language if we're going to make a point. On the other hand, it is nice that this particular market niche has been left open for Mr. Money Mustache to fill. Therefore, the ideal reader is probably a well-educated person, i.e. not a Dave Ramsey customer. That's his words. Just saying. Perhaps a Silicon Valley worker who is currently spending most of his enormous salary and needs to hear a well-thought-out counter-argument to his current assumptions about life. Or maybe even some of my own friends and former co-workers. Regardless of the style, this is a book like no other, and that alone may make it worthwhile checking out. And the author's a good guy, making an outsized contribution to the rich world by challenging its very foundation. So he maintains his status as a grandfather of the Mustachians. Alright guys, truth be told, I have heard a lot about this book, and I do need to read it. I have not yet. But if you resonate with any of this, then it might be worth a read for you too. I do tend to feel like that society generally spends as much as they make because they want to. You know, people would have you believe that it's so expensive to live, but truly it's not. I mean, you just have to learn the rules of the game, and then you can work the game to your own advantage. Is it too expensive where you live? Move. Are you not making enough money? Get another job. Get a second job. Change careers. Of course, all of this is very simplistic, and there's obstacles to everything, but anything worth doing is going to take some effort. And I think that reading this book will help some people maybe gain a different perspective from what they have heard or what they've been used to themselves. So to keep this one more on the short and concise side, I will go ahead and end it here. I find it funny that I was talking about the possible copyright strike that doing these videos might get me, and then here this article that I'm reading today, he's got quotes from that Early Retirement Extreme book within his own article. So yeah, I'm really not super clear on how all of the copyright rules work on YouTube. I have not thus far ever gotten a copyright strike against me. If you're a YouTuber out there and you have, let me know what triggered it down below, because the research I've done, they do seem to be kind of random. But yeah, this Early Retirement Extreme book, if you are into the FIRE movement and you would like to reach financial independence to retire early, then this one definitely needs to be on your read list. That'll wrap it up for this episode. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye.